labs at $3,900. So that's a special deal that we get.
My last question, what about like the good old programming course that everyone took 20 or 30 years ago? I mean,
Well,
do we still
we
teach
have-
courses like that?
It's no, we don't. We do have. I believe I have to check. I believe it might still be on the books. That it was in the math department, the computer programming and AP computer programming. It kind of went by the wayside because the state changed their requirements and did not offer math credit for it, and the demand for it then went down. We ran it very low, with low numbers for a couple years before we determined we just couldn't support it anymore because we didn't have enough kids to take it.
Thank you.
I have one more question. I mean, do we have sort of a long-term vision of the day when we'll need a technology presentation where technology is just kind of there? Because that's how it is in the business world today. So it's like I couldn't imagine doing my job without this stuff. It's not a separate part. It's just
That's where we're heading, and I'd like to think that one day we'll get there.
we have like an actual like goal, like by 2020, this is where we plan to be, and all our teachers should be at such a standard. And
Well, we're starting to ask those questions with our tech plan now.
One of the things I felt that this technology plan that the state mandates us do every 3 years is kind of a bunch of hogwash.
but it kind of looks to me as like people our age wrote these. Like if the kids.
Well, you know what,
Yeah.
the state plan, and that's why I think we got kudos from the county superintendent on a couple of weeks ago when we attended a meeting there, because we took it beyond that. Because I tended to agree with Mr. Wolf and say that they were asking a lot of what you did in the past. Well, that's not a plan. What you did in the past. I mean, it's good to take a look at the past, but you got to go forward here. And I think that's where we take it beyond the requirements of the state plan. And we do much more than that in our plan. And we're starting to ask those questions. And you know what? The virtual backpack is just a simple example of trying to get rid of the paper that we used to generate out of all of our printers.
Yeah, I think that would be a good challenge. That we have
A hard goal.
Yeah, a hard goal, looking 3 years out, where we're going, what we're planning on doing, and how we're going to do it.
Just,
Well, I'll be coming back. I'm sorry.
yeah, just quickly, Jim, and I think this is something that the Educational Program Committee could talk with me about. But if you would like to, in the meantime, look at the New Jersey Department of Education in any subject area and look at how the technology skills for global competition, for the ability to not work in an information age, but in a conceptual age, to work independently, for kids to work independently, I think you'll find some really exciting things that are less about the toys and more about how we are really going to look. Not 20 years out, or 10 years out, but really 3 to 5 years out. So that when Colin graduates in 4 years, he's going to really need to know how to work
I'm
this way.
graduating this year.
No, from college. When you
No,
enter the
thought you were
workforce,
graduating.
you will be expected to have global literacies.
And Mr. Wolf, you too. When I'll be coming back next month with the draft technology plan, so we'll be able to, hopefully I can address that for you.
Yeah.
I'll take that to the committee.
Okay.
We're on it.
I think just to wrap up, what I'm hearing from the board is that we clearly embrace technology as part of what we need to do, but we want to see it integrated within the curriculum more. And we're struggling, I think, to ask the kind of questions that say, how do we quantify that? How do we measure that? And how do we define success around that? So I think that's the takeaway, the primary broad takeaway that I'd like to figure out is how are we going to go about that?
And I think that's what we're being charged with through the standards too. Yep.
I agree with what you're saying. I'd also add what Jim had driven earlier, which is that are we making sure that our education and curricular needs are driving the technology versus the other way around?
Yes.
And also
Yeah.
add, not to be the money guy all the time, but how we can use it to save money. That was my question about online courses, the extent that we can achieve savings by better use of technology, we should do it.
Well, Dan, something they didn't mention, but it'll make you happy, is when they moved from virtual high school to Edgesair, there was how much of a savings?
17,500.
There you go.
Yeah.
Technology at work.
Yeah, we had also talked about this as a finance committee about looking at, you know, where our age of our computers are and everything, because obviously we're making presentations about that. And then obviously, I think one thing we'll add in there is looking at utilization of machines, because I think, you know, I see in the back of the elementary schools, you know, 4 or 5 computers in the back, and how are those being utilized? It might be better to do a cow, right? If that's a better methodology, and bringing the computers into the classroom and have more of those instead of having.
That's the
6
exact question that we were asked.
Yeah, 6 computers that are being used
Yep.
2 hours a day. You know.
And maybe we don't need to replace them all at the
Yeah,
same rate. I mean, we
yeah.
may have some that are just used
Yeah.
for creating Word documents.
Yeah,
So you could have
yeah.
a 20-year-old computer to do that.
Yeah,
You
right.
don't need, you know.
Yeah, a lot of
25
organizations
gigs of
look
hardware.
assess, you know, the value of the computer, what it can do, and utilize that computer in that methodology. And then obviously, you know, I've always felt in recent years with Microsoft and everything that really you should start treating your computer as an appliance. You buy it, you use it for what it's intended. You don't do the upgrades, you know, OS upgrades, because then you get into problems with speed and everything else. Just let it go, and you have that